Hello, dear students. I hope you are all doing well. The wait is over. The practice batch is here. It's time to gear up and focus on honing your skills. In this batch, you will get dictations from SSC's previous years, including 2024, 23, 22, and beyond. Each video will feature dictation from one shift. Your responsibility is to practice each of these dictations diligently to achieve excellence. Let us now begin the session. Listen carefully and write with full concentration. All the best. Ready for the shift third matter. Get ready. Start. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, please allow me to congratulate you on your election as President of the General Assembly. My delegation assures you of its fullest cooperation and support in the fulfillment of the responsibilities before you. Mr. President, 65 years ago, the United Nations was created to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, to affirm faith in fundamental rights, to establish conditions under which respect for international law can be maintained, and to promote social progress and better standards of life, endanger freedom. These noble aims inherent in the Charter of the United Nations continue to remain as valid today as they were when the United Nations was founded. The world has changed dramatically in the last 6.5 decades. Global integration at an economic, social, cultural, and political level has made the world a smaller place. On the other hand, this has also created conditions whereby the problems and challenges of the country or region can very quickly become those of the larger community of nations. The global threats and challenges of the 21st century are not necessarily those that were prevalent in the 20th century. In the aftermath of World War II, terrorism and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, maritime piracy, pandemics and epidemics, organized crime and narcotics smuggling recognize no borders or boundaries. Similarly, the fallout of interstate conflicts, failed states, natural disasters, food shortages, financial or economic crisis transcends countries and regions. The challenges of global governance in an increasingly interconnected and multipolar world are truly formidable as we near the end of the first decade of the 21st century. The international community looks up to the United Nations to overcome the common challenges of mankind through the harmonized action of the nations as stated in the UN Charter. Mr. President, the United Nations with its universal membership and equality of nations enjoys a unique legitimacy that requires it to be at the center of international governance. We must therefore not just reaffirm the central role of the UN in global governance, but restore and reinforce its reflecting contemporary realities. India remains fully committed to the principles and purposes of the United Nations and believes that the UN should be at the core of global governance and efforts to meet the challenges of collective peace, security, and development. The UN, however, needs urgent reform to recollect contemporary realities and to effectively meet emerging global challenges. Mr. President, the significant advancement of the UN's reform agenda this year in the area this is clearly a priority of our times. Gender equality and women's empowerment is a matter of satisfaction to my delegation, particularly given the proactive role played by India in the negotiations. I wish to reiterate our strong commitment for women and its strengthening. The review of the Human Rights Council this year should contribute to the Council's role as an effective and credible mechanism. UN peacekeeping and peace building and flagships activities in the core area of main intimidating international peace and security require a new global compact based on greater inclusiveness and participation in the decision making process. India has contributed over 1 lakh peacekeepers in nearly every major UN peacekeeping operation. It stands committed to UN peacekeeping. Another area in which the UN has a key role is humanitarian assistance. It is important that international humanitarian actions fully subscribe to the humanitarian principles of neutrality, human and impartiality. The capacities of the UN to manage development operations need to be augmented, and the funding for these needs based activities, especially core untied funding, required a manifold increase. It is also imperative that the UN and its funds and programs not advance particular ideological objectives linked to preferences of donors but align themselves squarely behind national priorities of developing countries. India, within its means, has consistently contributed to the developmental and humanitarian activities of the UN, including by way of South cooperation through NEPAD and the India Brazil South Africa Trust Fund with the UNDP. Mahatma Gandhi once described poverty as the worst form of violence, with only 5 years left until the 2015 deadline to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. There is an ever greater need to ensure that firm and time bound commitments, including on the provision of resources, transfer of technology, and capacity building, are made if extreme poverty, illiteracy, hunger, and disease are to be effectively curtailed. My government accords the highest priority to the attainment of the Millennium Development Goals. We in India understand that there can be no peace and progress unless poverty is eliminated and the fruits of development and progress shared among all countries and people. In this context, we believe that special attention needs to be focused on the least development countries, the landlocked developing countries, the small island developing states, the African countries, and others who are vulnerable and need special support to make them institutionally strong and economically resilient to overcome their myriad challenges. Stop. So, how was the dictation? I hope you managed it. Write it well. Don't forget to share your scores in the comments. I do love to know how you did. By the way, the dictation was clear, right? Let me know if you faced any issues. Keep practicing regularly, and I am sure you will do great in your exams. Good luck and keep up the hard work. Thank you so much.